Hey everyone. All right, so we are back and we are in our transaction and bank download screen. So you can see here that we still have 198 transactions to record. But today we're only going to focus on income, so deposits into our business bank account. And these are items that we're recording as income earned by FrostSafe. So this is more than likely sales, and I do know that we have a couple interest transactions in here as well. So because we had a balance sitting in our checking account, we earned some interest income from that as well that we will categorize now. So in order to pare down the list, because 198 is a lot to kind of look through, I'm going to actually filter, instead of all transactions, I just want to see the money in. So this will only show us transactions with amounts in the received column. And if I scroll through everything here, you can see I already have it sorted by description. So anything from Bitcoin Traders LLC, you'll see first, and then Blockchain Secure, and it kind of goes all the way down. You see here all these interest income items, some QuickBooks deposits, some line of credit draws. So that's an interesting one because that's not actually sales. That is just pulling money from our line of credit. And borrowing money is not income to you as a business owner, just like paying it back is not an expense to you. So we'll show you how to handle those as well. And then some Stripe and some bank account transfers. So let's start at the top with these Bitcoin Trader LLC deposits. So these were purchases made for goods that we provided to them. So when we click this to open it up, the first type of transaction that it defaults to, because it's money that we received, is a deposit. It's not a sales receipt. This is strictly just recording a deposit. The first thing I'm going to do here, just like we did for the vendors and making sure we name each vendor, is I'm going to name the customer that gave me this deposit. So I'm going to type in Bitcoin Traders LLC, copy that, create a new one. Again, you're making sure you're creating the right type because you have the option of customer, vendor, or employee. Obviously, this is not someone we're buying something from. This is a customer. And I do have some information about them, so I can pop in some information here. Their email address, their phone number. And why don't we even put in their actual street address? So if we were to invoice them in the future and send them an invoice stating how much they owe back to us, we can do so all through QuickBooks by entering their business name and their email address. That's basically all you need to send them an email version of the invoice. However, having the full phone number, address, all that stuff makes it look much more professional. New York. I don't have the zip, so let's just save that. All right, so we have the customer listed as Bitcoin Traders. And for the account that we want this to go into, we still only have our default account set up. So this is what QuickBooks thinks we will use. Basically, I only have two options for income, one for sales, which is very generic, and one for services, which is also somewhat generic. But if people want to use one versus the other, depending on what they're selling, that's why QuickBooks gives you both options. But since this is our chart of accounts, we can create whatever account makes the most sense for our business. So in this case, we're going to say premium package sales. New account. I'm going to create this brand new account called Premium Package Sales. And again, when you are creating an account, you want to make sure you're choosing the correct account type because that's where it shows up on your P&L or your balance sheet. So I'm going to list this as an income item. We're going to call it Premium Package Sales, and we're going to save and close. And once I save this, we go over to my other screen here. All right, so now if I open my profit and loss, I can now see that I actually have that $9,000 recorded. So let me open that for you. Profit and loss. And now I see my income item of premium package sales for $9,809. And that's exactly the transaction that I just recorded. So let's go back to our bank transactions and we'll record a couple more of these income items. Now you can see that I'm posting these income items, the deposits, directly to my profit and loss. And I'm doing that because I don't already have an invoice created in QuickBooks for that amount. If this client, Bitcoin Traders, had received an invoice from me, it would be an outstanding invoice in my books. And instead of saying, hey, this is a premium package sale that I made and recording it right from this transaction screen, you'd instead match it to that invoice so that the invoice then showed as paid and that the transaction, the deposit, doesn't get recorded twice in your books. Once as a sale from the actual invoice and once as a deposit separately into your bank account. So that's something we see often is clients that send out the invoice because it's a more formal process to their customers, don't then make sure that they're matching up the deposits to that invoice. And that will always result in duplicate income earned, or at least shown on the P&L, because you're going to have that invoice amount and you're also going to have the deposit that you're recording right from this transaction screen. So keep an eye on that. We will do an example of that in another video just to kind of show how that works in terms of matching to an invoice or actually just recording it right from this transaction screen. I'm going to record this amount as well. Looks like we have one more from Bitcoin Traders. And that was also a premium package sale. All right, so Blockchain Secure. This is another new customer. So I will add them as well. Add Blockchain Secure as a customer. We put in their address. Miami. I don't have the zip, but I do have the email address, which is more important, and the phone number. I'm going to save those. And this is for I'm going to create another income item called secondary tier consulting. So this wasn't actually for products that they purchased. This was for some additional consulting work that we did for them. And because of that, I want to separate those two income accounts because I want to know at the end of the year, how much did we make from this type of service that we're offering versus how much did we make from the actual products that we're selling. The main driver of the business is the products. So I want to see the difference between those two because those can help me make strategic decisions for the future and where I want to focus time. So we added it there, but I have to make sure I select it here as well. I will save this. Now QuickBooks is going to get smart. Every time it starts to see that there's the same deposits from the same vendors, you'll actually get suggestions in this categorize or match section that suggests the accounts that it thinks you want to record things to based on where you've recorded things in the past. Sometimes it's going to be right, sometimes it's going to be wrong. So always know that you can override what QuickBooks suggests in this account. They're not saying you have to post anything there. It's just trying to be helpful to help you get through all the transactions easily. Something else I want to note, this is true for vendors and also for customers. As soon as there is a vendor or customer in this box that QuickBooks recognizes, you'll see this little categorization history button that pops up. Let me back out. You can see if there's no vendor or customer here, that categorization history is also gone. But if I add that in, I can click this and it'll actually show me which accounts I've posted things from Blockchain Secure in the past. So it'll say, hey, this was last used for a transaction on 5/13/24. If I click details, I'll see all of those transactions. In this case, it's only one, but I'll see all of them listed. And I'll know that I put everything that I've recorded in the past to secondary tier consulting. So this is another way to really help speed up the process of recording all these transactions. Because not only can you look back at the customer history to see where you've posted things, but now you don't even have to leave the bank transaction download screen to get that information. We already know that we've posted things. And again, it looks for most used in the last 12 months. So keep that in mind. If it's something that's you haven't used for 12 months, you won't see it on this list. But as long as it's 12 months or sooner, you'll see all the different accounts you've used in the past for this particular customer. So I'm going to just hit add because I agree with where we put that in the past. And I'm going to then head back to our profit and loss so we can see one more time that our sales numbers are growing. So now you can see we have premium package sales of 32,000 and then secondary tier consulting of 23,000 for a total so far from what I've recorded of $55,000 of income or sales. Let's go back to the transaction screen and now we'll just look at the interest. So again, I filtered to money in, but this still lists all kinds of different money in transactions. If I want to filter this even more by the interest that we earned, I'll type in interest and hit enter. And now you can see showing results for interest. It tells you what it's filtering for. So now we're only looking at these 10 transactions that total $515. And I got that number because I selected all of the transactions. So even though there's 193 transactions to record, we filtered out everything except for these 10 transactions. So for all QuickBooks knows right now, when I say select all, I only want to talk to those 10 transactions. So I'm going to unselect them all. I will change this. This is our TD Bank. I'm setting up TD Bank as a customer since I received interest income from them. I will type in interest income, and that is also not an account that is already set up. However, when I go to add this, I'm not just going to put it in income because this isn't something I should expect as business income year over year over year. The interest income really just depends on the amount that you're saving, the rate that you're getting, and how long it's in that account to generate that interest income for you. So this is something we like to treat as below the line. So this is not a direct cost of selling the product or a good, where we would classify expenses as COGS, cost of goods sold. And it's not an overhead expense where it's a monthly expense that we have every month, regardless of whether or not we're making sales. We still have to pay our rent. We still have to pay for advertising. We still have to pay for employees. All that good stuff is overhead expenses. This kind of falls in the everything else bucket. Any small amounts of gain or expenses that you have, interest income, for example, any depreciation, those kind of things are one-off situations that aren't going to happen consistently throughout the year. So we usually put them below the line in either other income or other expense. In this case, it's income items, so I'm going to make it an interest income category. And I will hit add. And the great thing about QuickBooks, especially when you're filtering down to such a granular level, you can select them all the transactions that you have to record, as long as they're all going to the same spot. Hit edit. You can again tell it it's a deposit, not a transfer. This is coming from TD Bank, and I'm going to put it to interest income. You can't do the categorization history when you grab a bunch of them. That's only available for one line item at a time. However, I know that I just posted interest income, so I'm going to hit apply and accept, and it'll record all 9 transactions at once for me. Takes a couple seconds, but now when I filter for interest, there's nothing left because I've recorded all those transactions. I'll take off my filter just to see the money in, and you'll see everything that you expected except for the actual interest income portion. Now I'll go over to the P&L one more time and show you where that falls below the line. So you can see we have our income here. If we had any cost of goods sold items recorded yet, we will, but not yet. You would see it just below income, but before gross profit. Gross profit's kind of what you have left after your direct costs. So after the gross profit, the next section is any overhead expenses, and then that leaves us with our net operating income. And below that is where we have our other income and other expense items underneath net operating income. So that's why we have our interest income of $515 sitting below net operating income on our P&L. All right, so the next video I'm going to record about invoicing clients in QuickBooks, and then also making sure we're matching those deposits when they come in from the bank, that they match to the actual invoice in QuickBooks, so that we're not double posting deposits into our bank account. Cool. Thanks so much.